Hi everyone! Today we're going to be looking at one strategy for multiplication, which is to use an area model. And you might remember this from last year, that an area model breaks up a multiplication problem into its parts based on place value. But first, let's review that multiplication actually has four different functions. The most common one is making equal groups, but we can also find part of a group, part of a part, or do some resizing or scaling. Right now, we're just focusing on the type of multiplication that makes equal groups. We'll get into more about finding part of a group, part of a part, and resizing later on in the year. But first, let's look at an example using the area model 54 times 8. So an area model starts with a rectangle. And then we're going to look at our second factor, in this case the 8. Since it's a single digit, I'm going to write it all the way on the left of my rectangle. Then I need to look at my first factor and count the number of digits. Since this is a two-digit number, a 5 and a 4, I'm going to split my rectangle into two pieces because that's going to allow me to have a section for each part. The 5, which really represents 50, will go in the first box, and the 4, which really represents 4, will go above the second box. Now, to solve this problem, I can solve each small section on its own. This allows me to use mental math. So first, I'm going to solve 8 times 50. 8 times 50 is 400. So that first section represents 400 pieces. Next, I'm going to solve 8 times 4. 8 times 4 is 32. So now, to find my final answer, I'm going to combine those pieces, 8 times 50 and 8 times 4. In other words, I would add together 400 and 32 to get a final answer of 432. Let's look at another example with slightly larger factors. This time, I want to look at an example with a three-digit factor multiplied by a one-digit factor, and that's 261 times 7. Again, I'm going to start with my rectangle, and I'm going to look at my second factor, which is 7. Since it's a single-digit number, I'll write it on the left of my rectangle. Then, I need to count the digits in my first factor. In this case, I have a three-digit number, so I'm going to split my rectangle into three sections. The first will represent the 2, which I know is really worth 200 in this number. The middle section will be for the 6, which is really representing 60, and finally the 1, which is representing 1. So I'll go box by box to get my mini totals that I can add together. First, I'll calculate 7 times 200. 7 times 200 is 1,400. Then I'll multiply 7 times 60. 7 times 60 is 420. Finally, I'll solve 7 times 1. 7 times 1 is 7. Now to get my final product, I need to add all of those small pieces together. Since I have 1,400, 420, and 7 as my three boxes, I'll add those three pieces together to get 1,827. Let's look at one more example together. This time, I'd like to look at the example 24 times 18. I'm still going to start with a rectangle, and I'm still going to look at my second factor. But now, I don't have just a single digit, I have a two-digit factor. So this time, instead of just leaving the one open rectangle, I need to split it into two columns for the two digits in 24, and also into rows for the two digits in 18. Now, just like I did along the top, along the side, I need to find what each of these digits really represents. So first, the 1 really means 10, so I'll put that in the top part along the left. And the second digit, 8, represents 8, so I'll put that along the bottom part of the left. Now I can do the same thing with my first factor as before. The 2 represents 20, so that will go along the top. And the 4 represents 4, so that will be in the final section. Now I just need to find each of these four boxes totals. So first I'll do 10 times 20. 10 times 20 is 200. Then I'll solve 10 times 4. 10 times 4 is 40. Next, I'll solve 20 times 8, which I know is going to equal 160. And finally, I'll solve 4 times 8, which equals 32. Now to find my total product, I need to add together all of my mini totals. So I'm adding together 200 plus 160 plus 40 plus 32 to give me a final product of 432. You can use the area model no matter how many digits each of your factors has. If this was a 3-digit number by a 2-digit number, we would just have one more set of columns on the right. If this was a 4-digit number, we would have 2 more columns. If we had a 3-digit factor as our second factor, we would add another row. So you are just splitting apart your rectangle depending on the number of digits in each of your factors. Hopefully that gives you a refresher of the area model strategy for multiplication. If you're not a huge fan of the area model, that's okay. Check out the video on the traditional method and you can use that strategy instead. Thanks for tuning in.